Welcome back to another round of Bases Picks. As always, please like and subscribe, share with a friend, a colleague, a relative, an associate, an enemy, any and all in between. It is appreciated. Now, before I get into the picks, I have to apologize for the lack of content thus far this week. I have obviously done content on other platforms, as I'm sure most of you will know by now. I've got my commitments elsewhere. I was just a bit rough over the weekend. Took me a little bit of time to kind of get over the illness. I was better by Tuesday, luckily, but yeah, it was still just sort of took time out of me, and I've just had a few other bits and pieces that I've been doing. Haven't been in the house as much, so haven't been able to get everything out, but I am recording today, obviously now, as you can see, plus I'm recording episodes for the weekend. There will be content tomorrow and Sunday as normal. So yeah, apologies for that, but don't worry, we'll get the momentum moving, especially next week. Several press conferences and stuff to do, so hopefully we will get to all of that. With that being said, look, we've got two cards on this weekend. We've got one in Belfast, which is Lewis Crocker versus Jose Felix, and then we've got the big card in America, I think it's Arizona, which is Jaime Munguia versus John Ryder. I'm not too interested in the undercards on both, if I'm honest, apart from one or two fights. So I'm going to give a couple of very brief takes on some of the undercard fights and then get to the main events. So without further ado, let's get to the picks. So kicking it off for the Belfast card, just going to go straight to the co-main event, which is Chevon Clark versus Tommy McCarthy. This is I'm not sure if it's actually got a title on the line. It might be like a WBA Continental's Cruiserweight title or something like that. But obviously Tommy McCarthy has fought at the European level before, has fallen short when he's been up there. Chevon Clark is the number one for the British Cruiserweight title at the moment, which is currently held by Isaac Chamberlain. So by him taking this fight, it can propel him to a bigger, sort of, I guess, a much more vaulted level than the British title. But then it will also give him even more credibility to say, look, I want my title shot. Hurry up and get me that title shot. With regards to this fight, look, I think Tommy McCarthy has lost 3 of his last 5 fights. He's coming towards the back end of his career. He's had 25 fights total at the moment. I think he's 33 and his record, I believe, is 20-5. Now, with that being said, you got to wonder how much he's got left in the tank. Now, he is going to be at home. I guess to Emmanuel speaking. Will that sort of G him up and give him a little bit extra oomph? Not sure. Chef Clark is, I believe he's 7-0 at the minute, so he's been matched pretty aggressively from the moment he turned over from the amateurs. Same age, so they're both 33, so neither of them are necessarily quote-unquote spring chickens, but one person's clearly had a career whereby they have been at their level and they know where their level is, whereas the other one is still in an ascendancy, trying to see exactly where their level is. And I guess to a degree this could be a bit of a crossroads fight for them. I mean, it's a fight to tell you whether Chef Clark is to be spoken about in the same vein as the rest of the British cruiserweights, or whether Tommy McCarthy still got something left in the tank to push on for those European honours, and whether he can make another push for it. Quite frankly, based on the styles, they're both boxer punchers, but Chev is definitely more of a pressuring boxer puncher. He will come forward, usually being the shorter guy in the ring with his opponents. He's got no choice but to press the action. I don't think Tommy McCarthy's going to be cute enough to catch him clean with anything that Chev can't see, isn't prepared for, isn't happy to ride to get himself into that mid-range that he likes so much. He's got a better work rate than McCarthy, and every time that McCarthy's going to want to take a break, I feel like Chef Clark's just going to be on him. So for those particular reasons, outside of anything else, I can see this fight being a Chef Clark win. I'm not sure how much juice McCarthy's got in the tank left, and I'm envisioning a stoppage around about round 6 or 7. possibly earlier, but I'm predicting sort of, yeah, between round 6 and 7 for this one. Right, moving on to the main event. Look, Lewis Crocker, I don't know a huge amount. I've seen like the fights he's had over the last year and a bit, so I haven't followed him massively, but he generally campaigns around welterweight. Jose Felix is more specifically a lightweight, someone that's fought, I think he's fought as low as 130 before, so he's stepped up 2 weight divisions for this fight. And not only that, Lewis Crocker came in overweight. He came in at 150 pounds, so there was a belt on the line, like a regional, a minor title, but I think only Jose Felix can fight for it, because I don't think Crocker went away, did 2 hours to come back to try and make the 147 limit. So he's come in overweight. I suspect he's probably done that on purpose, because he doesn't care about the trinket belt. He just wanted the activity, and the fact that he's bringing someone up 2 weight classes to then still miss the weight, I think is a bit disrespectful, and quite frankly, I think he should be fined for that, if I'm gonna be real honest. Especially when you look at, again, the level of the opponent and where that opponent's coming from, and you've skipped out on the weight class. But that also being said, no one told Jose Felix to come up 2 weight classes to fight him, so maybe on that side he doesn't have a leg to stand on. But I also think over the weekend he's also not gonna have a leg to stand on, because I think Lewis Crocker's gonna knock him out. He hasn't had to struggle to make the weight as he should have, the same as everyone else, but then considering that Felix obviously isn't a big guy, then yeah, you gotta say realistically that he is more than likely didn't struggle to have to make the weight either. So he might be a little bit more his natural weight, but ultimately I think Crocker is just going to be too big. He's going to get to him in those mid rounds, and I think probably around 5, between rounds 5 and 6, I think he's going to get that stoppage. That's sort of my prediction on that one. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Now, moving over to the Golden Boy card. One thing I will say about Golden Boy cards, they never look like they've got any real stars on them, but they always seem to have very fun, action-packed fights. And the fights, they happen pretty rapidly. You don't really get long breaks in between one fight to another coming up. So that is one thing I appreciate. I know Darius Fulgram is on this fight card, taking a fight in Atlantis Fox. Fulgram is a very interesting prospect at the moment, 9-0, 9 KOs. Atlantis Fox obviously has been at the upper levels before, or he's been in those fringe contentions. He hasn't done anything of note, but he has fought the likes of Demetrius Andrade, and I think he fought Bektemir Melakuziev as well. So he knows a little bit of those realms and those areas, but realistically he's gonna be cannon fodder for Darius Fulgram, in my personal opinion. I don't think this one goes the distance. I think Fox gets taken out around about round 6. There's going to be a lot of 6-rounders in these cards, in my opinion. But the fight on the undercard that I'm most intrigued about is actually Gabriella Fiora against Erica, is her name Erica Cruz? Hold on one second. Christina Cruz, not Erica. Erica Cruz is the 122 pounder. Yeah, Christina Cruz, who 33 years old. She started her pro career pretty late, but I think she's got a pretty decent amateur background from what I can remember. Christina was on the amateur scenes, I think she took some time out, was trying to find herself a deal, couldn't really get one, came back into boxing a bit later, and has been sort of slowly making her way, I guess, and picking her way through opponents over the last 2 years, I think it is. Whereas Gabriella Fiora, if you've been on the channel for any length of time, you've heard me speak about her on several occasions. She's 5'9". We're competing at 112 pounds at the minute. No idea how she makes that weight. I mean, even when you look at her, while she looks like long and slim, you can see that there is body to fill out. Like, she's not just a stick insect. There is actually, you could put some decent size on her and she could quite comfortably compete at 126, 130, 135. in the near future. I don't expect her to be at 112 for very long, but she is the IBF champion down at 112, and yeah, she won it in her previous bout. I expect her to retain on this one, if I'm going to be totally honest. I think it's more than anything, it's the freshness. Christina is 6-0 with no KOs at this point. Gabriella Fiora she's 12-0, I think, with 5 KOs. So you can tell who's got the power of the two. Southpaw, she's got a very good jab. She knows how to use it. She knows how to keep range, but she also knows how to get in close and rough up her opponents if she needs to. She can shoot very sort of long probing shots. She can also shoot pretty quick sharp hooks as well. She's got quite a talent of actually getting to the target before her opponent in a hook, even though she usually has the longer arms. So she's just a very well-rounded fighter, and yeah, I do predict that she will get the victory here. I don't know if she'll get the stoppage, because Christina is a pretty, like I said, she's got a pretty good amateur background, so should know how to sort of keep herself safe enough. But I do think it'll be a pretty dominant performance by Gabriella Fiora, who's, I believe at the moment, is only 20, so she's still very young. 21, yeah, so she's got many years to go, and I think this is just another sort of stepping stone in her career. But I think she'll put on a good performance, but I think it'll be a dominant points victory. Now, moving to the main event, you've got Jaime Munguia versus John Ryder. One thing about this fight that's intriguing, Jaime Munguia obviously is the taller opponent of the two. John Ryder's shorter, about 5'8" and a half, 5'9", but John Ryder is the naturally bigger, more solid guy. So I believe when it comes to being able to take a shot, I believe that he'll be able to weather the shots that Jaime Munguia can throw. I feel he's taken harder shots from guys who have been bigger than Munguia, and let's not forget Munguia did start his career at 154. John Ryder started his at 160. He's just a massive solid unit, plus he's a southpaw. Jaime Munguia's only ever faced one southpaw as a pro. He did get a third round, I think it was a third round stoppage in that fight, but in those first 2 rounds he didn't look good at all. He was struggling to find his range, struggling to find his angles, his shots. He was sort of tripping over the southpaw lead foot as well from time to time. He hasn't had enough battle practice under the hot lights to necessarily be able to negate those same fundamental errors that he was contributing back then. However, what I do think is he's gonna be the fresher of the two, and from what I've heard, he makes weight a lot better now than he was before when he was just trying to crash weights. I feel now he's actually getting his weight down steadily, which means that his energy reserves and his power is going to stay more consistent throughout the fight. So I think this fight is going to be very competitive in the first half, especially rounds 1, 2, 3, 4. I do think that John Ryder is going to be backing Jaime Munguia up, pushing him about, sort of just making him work, kind of giving him fits. But I do think that every time John Ryder sort of throws and goes into, goes into attack, Jaime is going to try and meet him head on. A couple times that probably backfire for him, but I do think he will start to get the better of those exchanges in those middle rounds, sort of round 6, 7, 8, 9. And then at that point, I think just because Jaime's I think it's just because he's the fresher guy, a lot of the time he also trains at high altitude, so I feel like his engine and conditioning is going to be just that little bit better than what John Ryder's will be. Initially, I was actually thinking John Ryder could get the upset in this fight, because I don't think he's going to worry about the punches from Jaime as much as he might for some others. But I do think Jaime's going to have a work rate from especially round like 3 onwards, that even if John is matching it, he won't be able to exceed it. And because of that, being that where the fight is from, I do think that Jaime Munguia is going to sneak a lot of close rounds, especially in those in those earlier mid stages, and then I think towards the end, John Ryder's going to be trying to not so much counter punch, but he's almost going to be restricted to small bursts here and there, whereas Jaime's just going to stay consistent and like just stay on job and continue to just throw and basically take the decision away from the judges in terms of what do you like. I think it goes the distance, and I do think that Jaime Munguia will win on points. Close. We may look at it and say Ryder deserves more rounds than he was given. I think it's going to be one of those ones. Jaime definitely wins the fight, but then you're probably going to see a scorecard like 117, 111, and then you say to yourself, nah, John won at least 5 of those rounds. Clearly, it should be 115, 113. But yeah, I can see sort of scorecards of 117, 111, 116, 112. Maybe if they're generous, you might get a 114, 114 or a 115, 113. But I do think a unanimous decision victory for Jaime Munguia, and I do see it being on points. But John Ryder giving a very good account of himself, as he always does, pushing Jaime and probably giving him just as hard a test, if not harder, than the Derevianchenko fight from last year. That's my opinions. Please leave yours down below. Let me know what you think. Yeah, more videos coming tomorrow and on Sunday, and then we'll go again for next week. So for right now, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and that's Basis Picks locked.